The wedding dress flew across the room and slammed against the wall. Osaze screamed, stumbling backward as the vintage lace gown lifted itself off the hanger and twisted in midair like something possessed. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she watched the dress drop to the floor in a heap of ivory silk and lace. The sobbing started again, that terrible, soul-crushing sound that had been haunting her for 3 nights straight. "Stop it," Osaze whispered into the darkness of her bedroom. "Please just stop." The crying only grew louder, echoing off the walls of her small apartment in Benin City. Osaze fumbled for her phone, her hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped it. 3 in the morning. She pressed call on Ehai's number. "Osaze, what's wrong?" Her best friend's voice was thick with sleep. "The dress. Ehai, the dress is moving again. I can't stay here, I can't." "I'm coming over. Don't touch it. Don't go near it. Just stay in the living room until I get there." Osaze didn't wait for Ehai to hang up. She grabbed her wrapper and ran out of the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. She could still hear the sobbing through the walls. 20 minutes later, Ehai burst through the front door, her wrapper hastily tied, her braids covered with a headscarf. "Where is it?" Ehai demanded. "In my room. I locked the door." Ehai moved toward the bedroom, but Osaze grabbed her arm. "Don't, please. There's something very wrong with that dress." "Then why did you buy it?" Ehai asked, her voice a mixture of concern and frustration. "I told you that shop looked suspicious. All those old things, that strange woman who wouldn't look you in the eye." Osaze sank onto her couch, tears streaming down her face. "It was so beautiful, Ehai, and it was the only thing I could afford. You know how expensive wedding dresses are now. Mama Edosa's shop had it for just 50,000 naira. 50,000. For a dress that looked like it cost 10 times that. And you didn't think there was a reason it was so cheap." Ehai sat beside her friend, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "Osaze, we need to take it back tomorrow, first thing in the morning." But morning brought more than just plans to return the dress. When Osaze finally worked up the courage to open her bedroom door as dawn broke, she found the dress laid out perfectly on her bed as if someone had carefully arranged it for display. The sobbing had stopped. In the early light, the gown looked innocent, even angelic. Osaze stepped closer, and that's when she saw her reflection in the standing mirror beside her bed. Except it wasn't her reflection. Another woman stared back at her from the glass, wearing the same dress. The woman was beautiful, with dark skin and sad eyes that seemed to hold centuries of pain. Her lips moved, forming words Osaze couldn't hear. Then the reflection raised one hand and pressed it against the mirror from the inside, as if trying to push through. Osaze stumbled backward with a gasp. "Who are you?" The reflection's mouth moved again, more urgently this time. Osaze could make out one word on her lips: Osamudiame. The mirror suddenly cracked down the middle with a sound like a gunshot. Osaze ran from the room, her screams bringing Ehai running back from the kitchen where she'd been making tea. "There's someone in the mirror," Osaze sobbed. "A woman, she said a name, Osamudiame." Ehai's face went pale. "Osamudiame, are you sure that's what she said?" "Yes, why? Do you know that name?" Ehai pulled out her phone and started typing frantically. "My grandmother told me stories when I was young, about a woman named Osamudiame who died on her wedding day. It was a long time ago, back in the 70s. The story was famous in Benin City. Everyone talked about it." Osaze watched as Ehai scrolled through search results. What happened to her? They said she killed herself, took poison the morning of her wedding. Ehai's finger stopped on an old newspaper article, but my grandmother never believed it. She said Osamudiame's family believed she was murdered, that her husband-to-be had something to do with it. Look at this." Osaze took the phone with trembling hands. The grainy black and white photograph showed a young woman in a wedding dress, the same dress now hanging in Osaze's bedroom. The headline read, "Tragedy Strikes. Bride Dies on Wedding Day, 1974. "That's her," Osaze whispered. "That's the woman I saw in the mirror. That's the dress." We need to go back to that shop right now, Ehai said, grabbing her car keys. That woman sold you a cursed dress and she's going to take it back. Mama Edosa's antique shop sat on a quiet street in the old part of Benin City, wedged between a provision store and an empty building. The sign above the door read "Eternal Treasures" in faded letters. When Osaze and Ehai pushed through the door, a small bell chimed. The shop was crammed with old furniture, vintage clothing, and various artifacts that looked like they'd been collected over decades. Mama Edosa emerged from the back room, her face unreadable. She was an elderly woman with silver hair wrapped in a traditional headtie, her eyes sharp despite her age. I knew you would come back, Mama Edosa said quietly. You are not the first. What do you mean, not the first? Osaze demanded, anger replacing her fear. How many people have you sold this cursed dress to? Sit down, Mama Edosa said, gesturing to two wooden chairs. Both of you, I will tell you the story, but you must listen to everything. Ehai started to protest, but Osaze pulled her down into a chair. Talk, Osaze said. Mama Edosa settled onto a stool behind her counter and folded her hands. Osamudiame was my older sister. She was engaged to a man named Amorg, the son of a wealthy family. Everyone thought it was a good match, but Amorg had a secret. What secret? Ehai asked. He was already married. He had a wife in Lagos that no one in Benin City knew about. Osamudiame discovered this 2 weeks before the wedding. She confronted him, threatened to tell everyone to bring shame to his family. Mama Edosa's voice cracked. The morning of the wedding, I went to her room to help her dress. I found her on the floor in her wedding gown, foam at her mouth. They said it was suicide, but I knew my sister. She would never do such a thing. Amorg killed her, Osaze said softly. Yes, he poisoned her tea, made it look like she took her own life out of shame or fear. His family was too powerful. The police believed his story. Osamudiame was buried in disgrace, and Amorg continued his life as if nothing happened. He's an old man now, living in a mansion in GRA with his Lagos wife, surrounded by grandchildren. So why do you still have the dress? I asked. Why sell it to innocent people? Mama Edosa's eyes filled with tears. Because Osamudiame's spirit won't rest. She attached herself to that dress, to the last thing she wore in life. For 50 years I have kept it. And for 50 years she has made her presence known. The crying, the visions, the cold. I am old now and tired. I thought perhaps if someone else wore the dress, someone pure of heart who was also about to marry, Osamudiame might find a way to tell her story, to find justice. You used me, Osaze said, her voice shaking with rage. You made me a vessel for a ghost because you couldn't handle it anymore. I am sorry, Mama Edosa whispered, but perhaps Osamudiame chose you for a reason. Perhaps you can give her what I could not, peace. Osaze stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I don't want this. I don't want to be involved in your family's tragedy. I have my own wedding to plan, my own life to live. Take the dress back. I won't pay you, just take it back. The dress is already in your home, Mama Edosa said, and Osamudiame has already chosen you. Returning it here will not break the connection. She will follow you. The only way to end this is to give her what she wants. And what does she want? Ehai demanded. Justice, Mama Edosa said simply. The truth to be known, for Amorg to confess what he did. Osaze laughed bitterly. You want me to get a confession from a murderer, a powerful old man who got away with killing your sister 50 years ago. How am I supposed to do that? I don't know, Mama Edosa admitted. But Osamudiame believes you can. Otherwise, she would not have shown herself to you. That night, Osaze sat in her living room with Ehai and her fiancé, Amanayo. She'd called him over and told him everything, expecting him to think she'd lost her mind. Instead, Amanayo listened quietly, his face grave. I believe you, he said when she finished. You do? Osaze stared at him in surprise. My grandmother worked as a maid for Amorg's family when she was young. She was there the day Osamudiame died. She never spoke about it much, but once, when I was a teenager, she told me she saw Amorg leaving Osamudiame's room that morning with a cup. She was convinced he'd done something terrible, but no one would listen to a housemaid over a rich man. "Is your grandmother still alive?" Ehi asked eagerly. Amanayo nodded. "She lives with my parents in Ugbowo. She's 92 now, but her mind is still sharp." "Then we need to talk to her," Osaze said. "If she was a witness." "It's been 50 years," Amanayo interrupted gently. "Even if she testified now, even if we went to the police, what could they do? There's no physical evidence. Amorg is protected by time and money." "So what are we supposed to do?" Osaze felt tears of frustration burning behind her eyes. "Let a ghost haunt me forever because some old man got away with murder." Amanayo took her hands in his. "No, but maybe we don't need the police. Maybe we need something else." "Like what?" Ehi asked. "Public shame," Amanayo said. "Amorg has built his entire life on respectability. He's a deacon in his church, a philanthropist, a community leader. What if the community knew what he really was?" Over the next 3 days, they formed a plan. Amanayo's grandmother, Mama Iyer, agreed to tell her story on camera. Ehi contacted a journalist friend who ran a popular blog exposing corruption and injustice. They tracked down other people who had known Osamudiame, who remembered the whispers and suspicions from 1974. And Osaze, with Mama Edosa's help, pieced together evidence from old newspapers, police reports, and family records. But the dress had other plans. On the 4th night, Osaze woke to find herself standing in front of her mirror, wearing the wedding dress. She had no memory of putting it on. Her body moved without her control, her lips forming words she didn't recognize. In the mirror, Osamudiame's reflection stood beside her, their images overlapping. "Help me," Osamudiame's voice came from Osaze's mouth. "He's dying. Amorg is dying. If he dies before the truth comes out, I will never be free, and neither will you." Osaze tried to scream, but no sound came out. She felt Osamudiame's memories flooding through her mind like a rushing river. She saw Amorg's face as he handed Osamudiame the poisoned tea, the false kindness in his eyes. She felt the burning in Osamudiame's throat as the poison took effect, the terror as she realized what was happening. She experienced the young woman's final moments, the desperate wish to call for help, the darkness closing in. Then suddenly, Osaze was back in control of her own body. She collapsed to the floor, gasping and sobbing. The dress fell away from her shoulders, pooling around her like spilled milk. She grabbed her phone and called Amanayo. "We need to do this now," she said when he answered. "Tomorrow. Amorg is dying, and if we don't act now, it will be too late." They published everything the next morning. The blog post went viral within hours. The 50-year-old murder cover-up. Did Deacon Amorg kill his bride? The article included Mama Iyer's testimony, the suspicious circumstances of Osamudiame's death, the revelation of Amorg's secret Lagos wife, and statements from others who had never believed the suicide story. By noon, news stations were picking up the story. By evening, protesters had gathered outside Amorg's mansion, demanding answers. Osaze watched it all unfold from her apartment, the wedding dress laid out on her bed. The sobbing had stopped. The cold presence that had filled her home for weeks had lifted. She felt lighter, as if an invisible weight had been removed from her shoulders. Her phone rang. It was Mama Edosa. "He confessed," the old woman said, her voice breaking with emotion. "Amorg called a press conference an hour ago. He's dying of cancer, has only weeks left. He confessed to everything. He said he couldn't face death with this sin on his soul. He admitted he poisoned Osamudiame, that he'd been planning to kill her since she discovered his other marriage." Osaze felt tears streaming down her face. "Is it over then? Is Osamudiame at peace?" "Come to the shop," Mama Edosa said. "Bring the dress. I think you'll want to see this." When Osaze arrived at Eternal Treasures, Mama Edosa led her to a back room she'd never seen before. The walls were covered with photographs of Osamudiame, smiling and full of life in the pictures. In the center of the room was a small altar with candles and flowers. "I've been praying for her soul every day for 50 years, Mama Edosa said. Lay the dress there on the altar." Osaze carefully placed the wedding dress on the altar. As soon as the fabric touched the surface, something extraordinary happened. The dress began to glow with a soft, warm light. The light grew brighter, taking the shape of a woman. Osamudiame's spirit stood before them, no longer sad or angry but peaceful. She smiled at Osaze, placed one translucent hand over her heart in a gesture of gratitude, and then slowly faded away. The light dimmed until only the dress remained. Now just a piece of fabric, no longer carrying the weight of injustice and unfinished business. "She's free," Mama Edosa whispered, tears rolling down her wrinkled cheeks. "After all these years, my sister is finally free." Osaze felt an overwhelming sense of relief wash over her. "What will you do with the dress now?" "Burn it," Mama Edosa said firmly. "It has served its purpose. Let it return to ash and dust as all earthly things must." 3 weeks later, Osaze stood in a different dress in front of a different mirror, preparing for her wedding day. This dress was simple, modern, and carried no history but her own. Amanaya waited for her at the church, and for the first time in weeks, Osaze felt nothing but joy and anticipation. Ehai adjusted Osaze's veil and smiled. "How do you feel?" "Light," Osaze said, "like I can finally breathe." The wedding was beautiful. The church was packed with family and friends. When the pastor asked if anyone objected to the union, Osaze half expected to hear sobbing or feel a cold presence, but there was only silence and warmth. She and Amanayo exchanged vows with tears of happiness in their eyes. At the reception, as Osaze and Amanayo cut their cake, a strange thing happened. An old woman Osaze didn't recognize approached their table. She was elegantly dressed, with kind eyes that seemed familiar somehow. "Congratulations," the woman said softly. "May your marriage be blessed with truth, loyalty, and peace. May you never know the sorrow of betrayal." Before Osaze could ask who she was, the woman moved away and disappeared into the crowd. Ehai, who had been standing nearby, grabbed Osaze's arm. "Did you see her face?" Ehai whispered. "That woman looked exactly like the pictures of Osamudiame, like she would have looked if she'd lived to be old." Osaze felt a chill run down her spine, but it wasn't a frightening chill. It felt like a blessing, like a final goodbye from a spirit that had found its rest. She squeezed Amanayo's hand and smiled. The party continued late into the night, filled with dancing, laughter, and celebration. As Osaze and Amanayo drove away toward their honeymoon, she looked back at the reception hall one last time and whispered, "Thank you, Osamudiame. Rest well." 3 months after the wedding, Osaze received news that Amorg had died. His confession had stripped him of all his honors and positions. His family had disowned him. He died alone in his mansion, his name forever tainted by the truth that had finally come to light. Some said justice had been served. Others said it came 50 years too late. Osaze thought about Osamudiame often, wondering if the young woman's spirit had found whatever lay beyond this world, if she was finally reunited with the life and happiness that had been stolen from her. She hoped so. She prayed so. If you've made it this far in this story, thank you for staying with us through every twist and turn. This tale of justice, betrayal, and supernatural intervention reminds us that the truth always finds a way to surface, no matter how long it takes. If this story moved you, if it made you think about the injustices that still exist in our world, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories that matter. Drop a comment below telling us what you think about Osamudiame's story. Would you have had the courage to help a restless spirit find peace? Would you have risked everything to expose a powerful man's crimes? Share your thoughts with us. And remember, some debts can never be truly buried. Some truths refuse to stay silent. Some spirits will never rest until justice is served. The wedding dress may be gone, but its message remains. No one, no matter how powerful, can escape the consequences of their actions forever. Evil may triumph for a season, but truth endures for eternity. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay safe, speak truth, and never underestimate the power of a story that refuses to be forgotten.